The Russians are assaulting the approaches to Kostyantynivka. Fierce fighting continues in the urban areas of Pokrovsk, Myrnohrad, and Kupiansk. And after the withdrawal of Ukrainian forces from Siversk, the occupiers are pressing toward Lyman and Sloviansk. The situation on the front line is extremely difficult, says our Maria Malevska, who has been working on the Eastern Front for the past week. Maria, greetings. The floor is yours.
Julia, hello. Yes, I would describe the situation on many sections of the front as extremely difficult, especially now in the last few days when the frosts have set in and the days have become brighter. For those thanks to whom we are able to celebrate Christmas and New Year's holidays now, it is especially hard. So I would like to start with the QR code you see now. On the screen, you should see the details for a fundraiser for an excavator for the 82nd Bukovina Brigade of the Air Assault Forces, which is holding the defense over a significant section of the front in the Pokrovsk direction and in Pokrovsk itself. This section of the front remains the hottest, judging by the number of battles over the past day and in recent days overall. The Russians are actively assaulting here along the road from Pokrovsk to Dobropy. Laya searching for weak spots in the defense and probing all positions. In the area, there are drones, artillery, cobbies in tents and plentiful. The occupiers are using all available weapons, but right now they're relying most heavily on FPV drones with radio control and fiber optics because the weather is favorable. So it's not just the infantry who can't lift their heads, but also those holding positions several kilometers away from the front line. Because Pokrovsk has a fairly dense urban layout, it's not a village, there are quite a few high-rise buildings. The fighting here is very close. And often the enemy's positions can be just a few dozen meters away from the defense forces' positions, or even in different entrances of the same building.
In some specific areas of our front, the contacts are extremely close. In certain places, they are merely 300 to 400 meters apart. It's different everywhere. The front line, as defined by the brigade, the distance truly varies considerably, extending from densely populated urban areas all the way to the distinct boundaries of natural tree lines, with these measurements typically ranging from an expansive 500 meters down to a more confined 30 meters apart.
One of the units currently holding the defense in Pokrovsk is the paratroopers of the 82nd Bukovina Air Assault Brigade. Dense urban development, they say, in the unit makes the work of drone operators much more difficult. And the main burden falls on the infantry and assault troops who clear the buildings of Russians.
The intensity of the fighting is very high. On the one hand, you control the building, you can't bypass the checkpoint. On the other hand, they've already gone around the building and you didn't even see them slip across the street behind the trees. And now they're infiltrating, moving further into our rear. We use these tactics too. Thank God it hasn't come to that yet. The war hasn't reached the sewers yet, but everything is moving in that direction. There are still quite a lot left. There are still rooftops, intact buildings that are being used for now. But if things keep moving at this pace, I wouldn't be surprised if the war goes completely underground.
And they're being used more and more actively. Now on the front lines there are ground-based robotic systems, NRCs. They were even used to deliver kutia to the infantry the day before along with ammunition. Wounded soldiers are being evacuated actively. Recently, operators from the NRC battalion of the 20th K2 Unmanned Systems Brigade evacuated 2 seriously wounded soldiers from Pokrovsk. These soldiers from a neighboring brigade had been waiting for about 2 weeks. And the ground robots became a real salvation for them because no pickup truck, no armored vehicle could reach that point anymore. Similarly, the defenders use NRC kamikaze drones which eliminate enemy personnel instead of human assault troops. Most of all, I liked how the kamikaze drone carrying an anti-tank mine approached the house with enemy infantry inside. It drives up, blows up the house, and 2 terrified Russians run out, white as plaster, unarmed, shell-shocked. They ran out, walked away, and immediately surrendered to our servicemen. But the very fact that they were hit by a kamikaze drone meant that our infantry didn't have to storm that building and risk their lives. Our troops didn't have to storm that building and risk their lives. This unit is also operating in particular in the Lyman direction. Here, the frost will mean that the Russians will try to cross over the ice. Siversky Donets. After capturing Siversk, the Russians are actively pressing on Lyman. Shelling of Sloviansk has become much more intense. Almost every day we hear shelling in Kramatorsk. Druchkivka is suffering badly right now. Yesterday people were wounded there. A 63-year-old woman and a drone were involved. It hit a civilian car. So with every kilometer captured, the threat and pressure increase, and accordingly the intensity of shelling rises for the next settlement, as is happening now with Sloviansk. The night before, the Russians struck the city with 3 Kabi bombs, and now you can already see anti-drone nets even in the center of Izium, which is the next major settlement after Sloviansk. Thank you. Yulia.